10,000 of you. That's nuts. Nuts. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel, and yes, 10,000 of you. That's insane. That's about 9,999 more than I ever thought I would be able to get. But yeah, if you didn't know, we recently hit 10,000 subscribers on the channel just recently, and I'm incredibly grateful for all of the support you guys have shown me over the last couple of months, and I can't wait to see where we end up going with this. I'm really excited. I love making videos for you guys, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future holds. So I put out a poll on YouTube to ask if you guys wanted a Q&A or a live stream or something else, and you guys seem to want a Q&A, so that is what we're doing today. I put out on Twitter. If you don't follow me over there, make sure to follow along so you can see the next Q&A. So I put out on Twitter and Discord and YouTube asking for your guys' questions, and you guys definitely sent me a lot of questions, so we're going to try and rattle through and do as many or answer as many questions as we can get through today. So yeah, let's just do some questions. I've got my coffee, freshly brewed coffee, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so the first question is, if money was no object, build your smart home with Home Assistant and general components, or go for a professional install of Control4 system. I think the type of person I am, I would definitely still, even if I had £1 million or $1 million or $1 billion, I think I would still go for a Home Assistant and general components. The type of person I am, I just prefer to tinker, and I love playing about with that type of stuff. I love seeing the advancements in the open source world. I love open source projects, and so yeah, if money was no object, I would still go for a Home Assistant install or that type of system. That's what makes home automation, or part of what makes home automation fun for me. Obviously, I love that things happen as you walk around the house, that everything's just controlled, you don't have to do it yourself, but a large part of it is that I love playing about with or tinkering with different solutions, and I think Home Assistant or projects like Home Assistant really cater more for that sort of solution. So yeah, if money was no object, definitely a Home Assistant solution. I know that's going to completely go against what a lot of other people would choose. If money was no object, I can imagine that they just want something that works. They don't have to tinker around with, they don't have to ever see or touch, it just works. But yeah, I love tinkering. It's just the type of person I am. How did you get into smart tech, and what was your first device? Oh, so I got into home automation or smart tech in about 2015, I think it was. And the reason was, and this is gonna be not the same as anyone else's answer, I wouldn't imagine. But the reason I got into smart home or home automation was because my parents actually bought a 200-year-old house that they are still to this day currently renovating. And one of the first things that they ever did to that house was to upgrade or install a heating system, and that was a dual biomass boilers. And what that is essentially, it's a boiler that obviously heats water and provides hot water to the house, but it burns wood pellets, and so it's very environmentally friendly. And so my dad tasked me with, I'd played around with Arduinos and things like that. I'd done a lot of Arduino and Raspberry Pi projects, but my dad tasked me with coming up with a way of controlling from your phone, being able to control these biomass boilers. And there is a lot of components that go into these biomass boilers, temperature probes and valves and all these various things. So he tasked me, he's an electrical engineer, a very good electrical engineer. So he handled the sort of the electrical components of that, and it was my task to come up with the software that kind of made that all work. So I guess you could say that was my first entry into the home automation world, and technically that was my first smart device. It's not really a device you can buy off the shelf, but yeah, that was my first home automation project, and yeah, definitely got thrown in at the deep end with that one. It wasn't just a Philips Hue bulb or something like that. It was a very chucked in at the deep end. And yeah, that was really fun. That project's still going to this day. We still use it. Of course, that's been integrated into Home Assistant, and yeah, it works very well, and I'm very proud of that project actually. What is your most useful automated project? One that you use every day? So other than just the standard answer that everyone gives of like motion lights, obviously they get used every day, but the one most useful home automation project that I have is definitely my bed sensor. If you haven't seen, I made a bed sensor, you can find that video up here. And yeah, that is an extremely useful sensor that I have, and I use that every single day, or it runs every single day. And essentially it just allows me to entirely switch off my house every night when we get into bed. Everything turns off, all the lights, it sets the alarm, turns off the heating, everything like that. And when we get up in the morning, it instantly kicks into life and reverses essentially everything it did. So it turns on certain lights, turns on the heating, disables the alarm, etc, etc. Just kind of gets the house ready for the day. So that is definitely my most useful sensor. You can do a ton with that sensor, and yeah, it's extremely useful. If you haven't done that project already, I would definitely suggest giving it a go. It's not very difficult, and the rewards are very high. Because we all have at least one, what's a project you just can't get right? This would be automated curtains. I've obviously used the SwitchBot curtains. I've done a whole video on those, and I really like them, but I've tried a ton in the past to automate curtains, and I could just never get it right. I did have a working, I don't think I have any videos of that, but I did have a working project that I did have. It just wasn't very good. It wouldn't, the motors wouldn't turn in the right direction all the time, and it just kept failing. So yeah, that one took a long time to get right. I might revisit it one day. I must have spent about two straight weeks working on that project, and yeah, it was very very frustrating. One of the only projects that's ever eluded me to this day. Yeah, I might come back to that one day, but for now I love the SwitchBot curtains, so I'm happy using them. But perhaps when we maybe move house in the future or something like that, I do want to maybe revisit that project and conquer it at last. When is the house tour coming up, and do you intend to create a smart home startup? That's an interesting question. Firstly, smart home tour, I'm not sure if I would do it at the moment. I don't really have anything. It's surprising. Obviously you would think I have every smart home device there is, but yeah, there's nothing too interesting that's outside of the usual that everyone else already has. But as for the startup, there is a couple of devices that I've wanted to make, such as the bed sensor, or even the fingerprint sensor is a really interesting one. I just don't think I have maybe the time and the patience to make that a startup. It's just not something I'm too invested in at the moment, but perhaps in the future I'd love to maybe revisit that. But yeah, no immediate plans, but perhaps in a couple of years I'll look back on this video and things will be different. Whiskey or rum? I feel like living in Scotland, and with whiskey pretty much being the national drink of Scotland, I cannot say anything other than whiskey. So yeah, definitely whiskey. I'm not a big drinker anymore since since I'm allowed to drink. But yeah, if I had to choose one, definitely whiskey. I feel like I would be disowned if I chose anything else. I was never a big rum drinker. I've never been into rum too much, but so yeah, definitely whiskey. What is the thing you know now that you wish you had known when you started with home automation, and how would that have made things different? Oh, that's a good question. It's surprisingly a really hard question. Like I mentioned, I haven't exactly had a normal entryway into the home automation world. Most people start off simple with something like Alexa or Google Home and Philips Hue bulbs and stuff like that. I think it would be different if that's the way I had started, but because I was chucked in at the deep end with building my own boiler system with Arduino, it's totally different. I had to actually go and ask my girlfriend for an answer about this question because I was really stuck, and she said how useful and how lazy it has made us. And yeah, I can definitely agree with that, because when we go to anybody else's house or go to another place, we walk around and we leave all of the lights on. We just walk into rooms and we're standing there for like 10 seconds like, why is it so dark in here? And yeah, we just go around and we leave all the lights on now, oblivious that that at other people's houses they don't just turn off themselves. So yeah, not a conventional answer to that question, but yeah, I guess that is one thing I wish we knew. When will you start tidying up after yourself? The easiest way to become a Home Assistant integrations developer. I'm definitely not a good person to ask about this. I have no developer skills or anything like that. I can definitely hack and code my way, or code and hack my way along and get by making my own stuff, writing my own code, but definitely nowhere near the level of an actual developer. But the easiest way to get started, as always with everything like this, is just to get started and start making, or start trying to develop an integration. Maybe try and, because it's an open source project, anyone can obviously contribute. Go and have a look at maybe some of the integrations that are already existing, but could maybe use a little bit of updating. And yeah, just start trying to learn. Start with something very simple and try and work your way up, and then maybe submit the code into the project and you'll get feedback that way. You'll see what you did right, what you did wrong, and what you can improve on, and then just keep building from there. The easiest way to get started is just to start. The automation you were most proud of. I think this one comes back again to that very first project of the boiler that I did for my parents' house. We have a lot of custom projects going on in that house that are all built on Arduino, whether it's Arduino Uno or Nano or Mega, and a few other boards. But yeah, definitely the one I'm most proud of is still that boiler, the dual biomass boiler project. That one is still running today. It works very well, and it was a very complicated project. It's got tons of pumps and valves and temperature sensors, and you have to get feedback from all of these different places and control different outputs. There's a lot of moving parts to that project, and even though it was the first project I worked on, obviously we've been developing it in the last 5-6 years since we first put it in. But yeah, that is one I'll always be proud of, for probably being the most complicated one that we've done. So yeah, that's definitely one I'm most proud of, and I probably always will be. What do you think the future smart home protocol is? That's a good one. This is all just my opinion. I'm just guessing. I know nothing about the future. I could be completely wrong. I probably will be completely wrong, but I don't think we have arrived at the future smart home protocol yet. Obviously we have things like chip and thread on the horizon. I'm not convinced that we're entirely there yet. I personally feel that we're gonna be in this continuous game of cat and mouse, where these big companies are touting the future protocol and how it's going to be future, everything's going to work and it's going to be great, and then we'll all buy into that hype, buy the product, and then a couple of years later that protocol's thrown in the bin, it's old news. And this next one, yeah, this is the future, until consumers are fed up of it and they put their foot down and they stop buying new products, to make these companies realize that we won't just continue to buy products, but unfortunately people always want the latest and greatest, and so they will always buy these products. So it's very tough to kind of put a stop to this sort of game of cat and mouse all the time. But yeah, I don't know, I could be completely wrong, and I hope it doesn't go that way, because it's very anti-consumer and it's very wasteful. Think of how much e-waste we're putting into the environment, and how much how badly it is for the environment to keep recycling products that have a lot of life in them, but people just throw them out because they're not the latest and greatest thing. So I hope I'm wrong, but that is how I see it at the moment. If your smart home wouldn't exist the next day, which automation would you miss the most? I definitely think, again, it would be the bed sensor, which closes the blinds, all the curtains, turns off all the lights, the TVs, speakers, anything like that. I think that is the one I would miss the most. Also, it sets the alarm. overnight and disables the alarm. So that is a big part of my home automation setup, and it's one I find the most useful. So that is definitely the one I would miss the most if I didn't have it tomorrow. Given the rise of event-based automations with IFT, MQTT, Node-RED, etc., what do you think the next step of this evolution is? That is a very difficult question. I think the next evolution is just to make these systems that we have. I think these need to be a lot simpler in order to gain more mainstream popularity or more mainstream use. They're fine for technical people like us, we understand them and we find them easy, but I think in order to gain more mainstream adoption, these need to become a lot more simpler in order for them to become more useful for the average person. What is your methodology to keep your smart home services secure? I use pfSense as my firewall and my router, so that handles a lot of my inbound access into my house. I also minimize the amount of cloud devices I have, not only for security purposes, but I don't like cloud connected services, so I try and have as little of those as possible. In fact, I don't think I even have any at the moment. All my IoT devices are on their own VLAN. That VLAN does not have access to the internet. It only has access to my Home Assistant server. The other thing I obviously do is keep my Home Assistant up to date, keep all the firmware for any devices up to date, and yeah, just generally try and reduce that attack surface as much as possible. Use SSL where possible. Keep your firewall rules to a minimum or the minimum required for those devices to work. I also have all of the suggestions that I made in the top 5 essential security tips for Home Assistant. I also implement all of those. And yeah, if you do all those, I think you should be pretty good for the most part. What made you want to start a YouTube channel? That is a good question, and for most people that know me, I am a very introverted person, so it's very difficult for me to talk on camera. It's very difficult for me to, or it was very difficult, it still is to an extent, but it was very difficult for me to make these videos. And yeah, for everyone who knows me, it was a very strange move for me to start making YouTube videos, but I don't know. I used to have, or I do have a website where I was writing tutorials and guides and reviews on smart home products, and I did that for about a year, just under a year, before I sort of made the natural extension into making YouTube videos. And I don't know, something just, when I started doing the website, there was obviously a lot of comments, people asking for help, people saying thanks for helping, and just general interaction from the community. And I realized how much I absolutely loved speaking to the community and interacting with you guys and bouncing ideas off each other and helping people figure out things. And so the natural sort of progression to that was to start making YouTube videos to reach a wider audience, reach a different type of audience who maybe don't like to read written articles, but they do watch videos. So yeah, it was about extending the reach of the community, basically reaching more people, interacting with more people, which is definitely the most rewarding part about doing YouTube. So yeah, it was one day something clicked in my head, and I'm very much an all or nothing type of person. So yeah, one day in my head it just clicked, and that I was going to start making videos, and yeah, here we are. 100 baby-sized elephants or 1 elephant-sized baby? 100 baby-sized elephants for sure. Nothing elephant-sized is ever gonna end up very good, no matter if it is a baby. Yeah, definitely 100 baby-sized elephants. I think I could take them. You can't take anything elephant-sized, no matter what it is. 100 baby-sized elephants for sure. I can take them. How long does it take you to research, outline and film a video? Well, firstly, thank you for the support. And the process for making a video is generally I will try to come up or think of an idea that I want to cover, or I think would be interesting, or perhaps that not many other people have covered before. So once I have that initial, or obviously I get ideas from comments on videos like the Tech Tutorial Tuesday. A lot of you guys obviously leave comments, and then I can kind of gauge the interest on particular topics from that. So once I have that idea, I'll then sit down. If it's not something I already know, I will run through the process and see how difficult or hard it is, and obviously take a couple of notes as I go along. Sometimes I'll do it a couple of times just to make sure I'm familiar with the process so I can actually talk about it without making a fool of myself. If it's something I already know or know how to do, then I just start writing my ideas down. That usually takes a couple of hours to plan out, and then from there I will write a couple of notes in a script sort of format. So sometimes occasionally I'll have scripts, but I'm not actually reading them. I don't have a teleprompter or anything. I just kind of have a script that I'll follow through. I don't read them word for word, but often I just leave notes for myself so that I don't miss points that you guys need to know for sure, because otherwise I'll just rattle through everything and I'll completely forget about specific things. So once I've got all my notes and everything written down, I'll sit down and film just like this. I'll film all of the A-roll that you see just now. So this is the A-roll. So I'll film all of that. And then once I've done that, I'll sit down, edit that, cut out all the mistakes, etc. till we get a clear and sort of cohesive video. And then after that, I will film the B-roll so that I know exactly which shots I need and where to put them, where to insert them, etc. And then I'll insert them into the film, edit it, and then upload it for you guys to see. And that probably takes around, probably spend, I would estimate, in about 15 hours per video, roughly. Some will take longer than that. Some will be a little bit shorter. It just depends on the content. But yeah, I would say on average, from start to finish is maybe around 15 hours or so. Can you lick your own elbow? Look how far away that is. How can anyone... How's anyone reaching that? What smart home project / automation are you most proud of? Thank you for all the help and advice. Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad I could help you. And so I've kind of answered this already, but I'll give you an alternative answer. So another one of the projects that I am very proud of is again in that house, the house my parents are renovating, which is going to be like the ultimate smart home, by the way. It's going to be incredible. But one of the other projects in that house is the lighting setup, and that was all done on an Arduino Mega, or several Arduino Megas, and essentially it's kind of your smart home lighting dream. You can turn it on from your phone, but also you can use the physical switches like you normally. You can use them, and if you press the physical switch, it will update on the app or Home Assistant to say that the physical switch has been pressed. And you can also control it from your phone, and switching the physical switch does not break any functionality, and vice versa. Toggling it from the app will not break the physical switch. So yeah, that is also a very nice project, and I love doing that one. The code for that was fairly easy, and that works very well. A lot of the functionality is in the electronics of that one, so my dad handled a lot of that aspect. I'll try and chuck up some photos here. You can see the extent of how many lights there are. So yeah, definitely that is a very good one. I very much enjoy that project also. Do you have a backup plan if your Home Assistant fails? It's a good question. I currently run my Home Assistant in a virtual machine, so it's on a big Xeon server in my house. And yeah, if the Home Assistant failed, I could spin up another VM in minutes and be back up and running, no problem. If the entire server died, I do have other servers around that I could use. I could simply rebuild on that. If none of those were available, my house is also connected via a permanent VPN to my parents' house. They have rack servers there. I could spin up another Home Assistant on there. No problem. Their house is just an extension of my house. It's simply on another network, and it's completely reachable from my house. So yeah, if my Home Assistant died, I could spin up another VM in their house, no problem. It would take me half an hour to be back up and running. So yeah, pretty good, pretty decent backup strategy. Is Thread going to take over the world? In all seriousness, joking aside, I'm not convinced that we are going to see one protocol dominate. I think maybe it might last a couple of years again, like we've currently seen with existing protocols, and then there'll be something new and exciting and nothing game changing about it for everyone else to buy and everyone to buy products for, and throw out all your old stuff because it's no longer the latest and greatest, even though it does the exact same thing. But yeah, I'm not convinced Thread is the protocol. It might be for a couple of years and then something else will come along. So yeah. What does it feel like reaching 10k? What's your next goal? Reaching 10k is insane to me. It's yeah, I never even dreamed I would get this far. 100, when I first started, 100 subscribers was massive to me, insane. Just how shy and introverted a person I am. I didn't think this would ever get anywhere or take off. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for all the support you guys have given me to be able to allow me to reach this stage. So yeah, absolutely amazing. As far as my next goal, I think 50k or 50,000 is the next obvious one, which is mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. But yeah, 50k, 50,000 is the next goal for me. I think who knows if we'll ever get there, but I hope we do. I hope we do. Hope we can keep making these videos, and yeah, let's keep pushing for that goal. What's your most complex automation and how many do you have? In terms of how many, I don't think I have that many, maybe 30 or so. I try to condense a lot of them into a single one where I can, so if I can fit multiple actions into one automation, I'll try and do that wherever possible. So yeah, I've certainly condensed a lot of them down into as little as possible. In terms of most complex, I don't have any that are crazy complex. I know that's going against my whole YouTuber thing, but in terms of one, maybe I could give you one I'm working on just now. I want to detect people on one of my specific home security cameras, only people when they get near to the front door. And when that happens, I want to change the display of the room that we are in to show the camera view, or cast the camera view onto that display. So that's what I'm working on just now. But it's a little bit complicated in the working out where specifically everyone is in that specific moment. So room detection. So yeah, that's one of the more complicated ones I'm working on just now, but yeah, it's not overly complicated. Sorry to disappoint. How much have you spent on smart home gear total in the past 5 years? Again, I feel like I'm gonna disappoint everyone because I haven't bought every single product out there, and my nature is to DIY where possible. So a lot of the things I try to build myself and as cheaply as possible. So I really haven't spent that much for the functionality I have. I have a lot of functionality, but having spent very little. I would estimate definitely, it depends what you class as part of the smart home setup, but I would say definitely less than £1,000. Yeah, easy. Should new users go ZigBee or Z-Wave route or a mix of both? I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from going whatever route they would want to take. I would say definitely first research the products that you want to buy and see if the products you want or the brands you want are mostly ZigBee, then go ZigBee. If they are mostly Z-Wave, then go Z-Wave. As a new user, I wouldn't necessarily recommend having a mix of both. I think it can be a little bit confusing if you're a new user. As you get a little bit more intermediate, I think you could definitely expand into a mix of both. If I had to choose one, I would say probably ZigBee. For the moment, it seems to be the one that more brands like Amazon and things like that are starting to support. So I would probably recommend ZigBee if I had to choose one, but I wouldn't discourage people from choosing either at this moment in time. That may change over the next couple of years as more hardware comes out, but yeah. I want to know why you made the decision to do YouTube videos and if you're still doing your daily job in security. I'd like to see a collaboration. Yeah, I'm definitely open to collaborating with other people. I think that would be good. I've already answered the why I started YouTube, but in terms of my daily job, yes, I do still do my daily job. And just to clarify, it's not all security. A lot of my job is around security and networking in particular, but I also keeping our virtual infrastructure up and running, do a lot of technical server implementation, server hardware and things like that, a lot of networking, and also big enterprise firewalls. I do those, configure those, and I also developing our security solution in terms of logging. So it's a centralized logging platform that sort of handles or ingests a lot of the logs from all of our security devices, also analyzes logs and does a machine learning on security logs so it can alert us to particular security events and things like that. So I primarily deal with the developing of that platform. Oh, I also primarily look after all of our Linux machines across the entire business, and I also deal with our load balancer and Nginx, which yeah, I really enjoy. It's one of my favorite pieces of software of all time. Yeah, I love Nginx. So yeah, that's the kind of things I do in my day-to-day job. What is something you want to achieve in the future regarding home automation? That is a very good question. I think something that I've wanted to do for 3 years or so, ever since, like I mentioned, in my current job, I do a lot of machine learning for security logs. And so something I've been wanting to do for a very long time in the home automation world is to start doing machine learning, or AI, whatever you want to call it. And I think it could be very interesting. I would love to be able to get into that. I just haven't quite found the time. I've thought of a couple of solutions for being able to do it, but I've never just gotten into it. Perhaps this year is the year I might start and try and delve into those a little bit more. There are loads of applications I could think of for that, for machine learning, and yeah, I think that would be a pretty big game changer for a lot of people, and it would sort of take automation to the next level. But yeah, so machine learning is definitely something I want to achieve in home automation in the next couple of years. What are your thoughts on projects like Plan for Act? I actually had to look this up because I've never even heard of it before. And it's funny, this question came just right after the last question actually. This seems to be sort of like an artificial intelligence type thing. And they seem to be sort of testing on monkeys in sort of smart cages at the moment. And whilst I don't agree with testing on, or any sort of animal testing and things like that, maybe it is that I don't know a lot about this project, so I could be wrong. I hope that these are monkeys that are perhaps already in captivity or something like that. But yeah, other than that, it does look like a very interesting project. I need to read more about it. I've never, like I say, I'd never heard of this project before. I had to look it up. But yeah, that is an interesting project and one that will definitely have a lot of interesting results if it gets there. Is it true you learned everything you know from Ian? 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. Ale or lager? I think I mentioned earlier, I'm not a big drinker anymore. Ever since it became legal for me to do so. I drank a lot in my youth, a lot. And yeah, ever since I was allowed to do so, it's the novelty definitely wore off. So yeah, I'm definitely not a big drinker anymore. But if I had to choose one of those, I would say lager probably. I was never, even when I did used to drink, I was never a big beer or lager or ale drinker. I was always spirit type of person. But yeah, if I had to choose one of those, definitely lager. Coke or Irn-Bru? Without a shadow of a doubt, definitely Irn-Bru. If you've never tried Irn-Bru before, it's probably the most, it's like, it might as well be the national drink of Scotland. Maybe it is the national drink of Scotland. But yeah, it's something we only have here really, as far as I'm aware. If you ever get the chance to try Irn-Bru, definitely try it. It's like the most cherished thing here in Scotland. So yeah, definitely Irn-Bru. I was never a massive fan of Coke. Coca-Cola, I should add. Salt and vinegar or salt and sauce? All the important questions today. Definitely salt and sauce for me. I know this is, to a lot of other countries, it's going to seem extremely weird. Why would we have either of those? But yeah, salt and sauce for me. I was never a massive fan of vinegar. I used to like it in my younger days, and then yeah, just never really that a massive fan of it. But I feel like I'm gonna get shot down for that, because salt and vinegar in the UK is a massive thing. But yeah, salt and sauce all the way. And there we go, that was the last question. I think we did about 30 questions or so. I'm sorry if I didn't answer a question. I tried to get through as many as I possibly could. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Let me know if you liked this Q&A. I certainly had fun making it. It was definitely interesting, different to my usual style of video, a little bit more relaxed. And yeah, thank you all for the incredible support. I can't believe we've hit 10,000 this quickly. I didn't expect it to happen at all, let alone this quickly. So thank you so much for all the incredible support and allowing me to keep on making these videos. And onwards to the next milestone, like I say, which will hopefully be 50,000 in the future. It's mad when I even say 50,000 is mind-blowing. So yeah, hopefully we'll hit the next goal at some point in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see more Q&As. Like I say, this was a lot of fun. It's a different sort of way of interacting with you guys, and yeah, we can do more of them if you guys want to see them. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to drop it a like if you liked it. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you aren't already, and I will see you in the next video.